Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Between Two Fans with myself, Daniel Scholtz and Stevie P. We are covering the world of sport, the highs, the lows, all the stories that you need to hear the last week. Stevie P, how are you doing, kind sir?
Yeah, it's a tough time out here, Dan. It's public holiday tomorrow. I've got a 7:45 tee off. So it's a little bit of a midweek. Yeah, bit of a midweek break. So it's. I think today, I think it almost hit the record high for the hottest 30th of April we've ever had in the country. So it's a tough life we're living down here in SA, but we're grinding through.
To be fair, today has probably been the hottest day of the year in the UK, and it hit a soaring 18 degrees. So we're both winning, It's some on different scales than others, but I'd say we're both winning. And unfortunately, I'm not winning in the golf department because I'm absolutely not playing golf tomorrow morning and not having public holiday. I'll be joining.
And our teams aren't exactly doing very well at the moment. Well, my teams, actually, both of our teams are not doing very well. So we're not winning, off the pitch there. Or on the pitch with regards to professional sports. And so our individual sport careers will have to carry us through.
Yeah, it's been a tough month from the perspective of us as supporters. Actually running my first ever marathon this weekend. So hopefully the athlete in me, I don't know, somewhere dark and deep down might present itself this weekend. And
so do we dare ask for, are there goals or is it just finishing now?
Start to finish, brother. Start to finish.
Start to finish sub 3, try and look for that.
No, we're hiking Everest this weekend. But
is it a trail or is it a road?
Yeah, it's a trail up the Welsh mountains.
A trail 42.
Gonna go find some dragons up there at the altitude. But Stevie, that's not what people want to hear about. They want to hear about how the predictions were last week. And the big story was that last week I managed to turn it around finally. I believe the score is 8-3 now, having just kind of got the tide to turn. And there are 3 different fixtures that we bet on every single week. And we see who is more correct. Stevie is giving me the thumping of my life, but I've just recently won. So let's get through what we bet on last week. First match, Lions versus Munster. Oof. Tough one to watch as a Lions fan. Stevie, your prediction was was Lions by 5. Mine was Munster by 3. Result 33-13 to the men. Yeah, sure.
For about 5 minutes.
Yeah. So a resounding win for Munster. Massively successful tour for them in South Africa.
Can I just say, I think that these last 2 games, for me, surely have to put them as, I wouldn't say favourites whilst you got a Leinster, but I tell you what, they're looking hard to beat.
The only thing that's not putting them in favourite is their actual league position, because they may not have a home city and final. So, but 100% form, they've struck form at the perfect time. The second match, Stevie, and I don't think I've ever got a Stormers prediction correct, but Stormers versus Leinster, as predicted, Leinster with a bit of a weakened squad, and I didn't think Stormers would bounce back as they did. Stormers winning that game 42 points to 12, resounding 30-point win, and my prediction was Stormers only by 7. Yours was Stormers by 12. Again, not very close, but Stevie, you took that one home and drawing it up at 1-1. And our final match of the weekend, Spurs versus Arsenal North London derby. A lot to play for, Premier League, top 4, both teams wanting to kind of derail the other one. That game ended 3-2 with to Arsenal. Obviously, Arsenal going 3-0 ahead. Spurs almost clawing it back.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it was getting a bit dicey at the stage for Arsenal.
Very dicey. I think no one was more happy than David Raya to make sure that game got wrapped up, because he was the reason that they even let Spurs back into that game. But Stevie, your prediction was 2-1 Spurs and mine was 2-2. So closer than yourself. So I'm back. It's 8-4. I've halved the deficit.
Half the deficit in 2 rounds, yeah, dude.
You're talking momentum. Tomorrow is May, and I'll be taking that momentum into May.
So the question is, Dan, what is the real marathon? What you running on Sunday, or this comeback in the prediction game, dude?
I mean, this one feels longer. I might have different.
This one feels more unassailable. Bring on the mountain.
Yeah, this is a big amount to climb. But Stevie, you mentioned Munster and the talk of URC. Let's get into last week's results because, geez, I mean, you feel like you have a grasp of which way this top 8 is going to go, and then week on week it just turns itself on its head. And
I
now
think if you were to look at my thumbnails for my weekly URC review, you'd think I didn't know what was plotting. Because every week it's like Lions up for the top 8, then it's like have Lions bottle top 8, like Bulls back. Then it's like, Bulls going downhill. I think the Stormers on the downward trajectory, putting 40 points against Leicester. So it's the most ridiculous URC season.
Yeah, I mean, literally Ospreys having gone and beaten Stormers last week, everyone kind of, being them up in the conversation, and now all of a sudden dropped down to 10th after taking a big L to the Bulls. But let's quickly cover some of those fixtures. A massive, massive win for Ulster, 38 points to 34 versus Benetton. Again, both teams in that top 4 race. Ulster having a horror season off the pitch, managing to kind of keep it going on the pitch, to be fair. And you've got to give the players a lot of credit for that, trying to kind of put that behind them.
Just really trying to drag themselves through it, aren't they? I mean, if they can get that top 8, then talk about salvaging a disaster season.
Yeah, no, it'll be massive for them. I mean, anything in the top 8, I think, is honestly impressive, especially just with how spread out and how big the competition has been. Big win for Sharks, who played mostly a first team against the Scarlets.
We're never really in the driving seat. It was a bit of a weird game. Had to keep sort of coming into it, keep trying to sort of see them off. I was impressed by Scarlets.
I thought, to be fair, I thought the Sharks let them in at the end there. They should never, Charlotte scoring like 2 minutes from time and almost having a crack at the final whistle for the line, but not to be. Our boy Sia Masuku pulling strings, 3 MOMs in a row. Werner Koch hat-trick. He's been playing some really good rugby, to be fair, recently. Speaking of Ulster, he'll be there next season. I'd say
part of the rebuild.
Glasgow Warriors now lead top of the table with their 40 point.
With space,
With a bit of space. I mean, yes, they're paying for not sending any teams. I mean, I don't think they'll be worried too much. They'll probably end on top in any case.
Because Glasgow Warriors have come down to Ellis Park, so they're definitely losing at least one game in the last 3.
But it's nice to see, to be fair, Scottish side that's not just mid-table. I mean, Edinburgh, I think they're quite hot and cold. But I think it's nice to have at least a team from each country representing. We've seen Benetton represent, obviously Italy. We haven't quite found our Welsh representation or spearhead yet, but the other fixtures were obviously, as we mentioned, Munster 33 points to 13, Connacht 34 points to 27 versus the Drags, who almost pulled a bit of
that could have been a massive result for me as a Lions fan. I was monitoring that because when I thought that there could actually be a chance for Dragons to pull up a bit of a result there, it could have been big.
Yeah, and then Edinburgh 24 points to 7, Stormers 42 points to 12. Stevie, walk us through this top 8 battle. What are you seeing here?
Well, there's a bit more space now. If you go back at one stage, it was like 5th through to the 11th was separated by like 2-3 points. There's a bit more space now when you think the Lions are now 4 points behind, 5 points behind 8th. So there is a bit of space. But because a lot of these teams are playing against each other, there's maybe not as much space as you think, because the Lions are playing against a Cardiff and the Glasgow Warriors. So they're not playing against anybody sort of in and amongst their that fight, but a lot of them are. So, and Edinburgh goes and beats an Ulster, for example, or vice versa. And all of a sudden, there's lots of these teams will be dropping points in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So, I think, as a Lions fan, for example, down, not out there. I think, 2-3 more wins, I think does get them top 8. I do see a couple of these teams dropping points, but it's one of those things now where bonus points are going to come into it. Lions were paying the price for not getting enough wins because, for example, they don't go to points difference, they go to number of wins. So Lions have been 11th, despite being level on points with the 2 to 3 teams the last couple of weeks, purely on number of wins. So it's interesting how that could actually play a bit of a role. Bulls, however, they've kind of managed to get themselves back into that purely top 4 race, putting 6 points between them and the Stormers.
And I don't think the top 4 I don't think anyone will move in and out or out of that top 4. I think it still might shuffle around. maybe Leinster, Munster could even flip around. Glasgow might not finish top. I feel like Bulls will probably stick around there, but it's really that 5 to 8. That's the big one. I have faith now in the Stormers. I think sitting on 45 points. To be fair, 8 is only on 44. As you said, there are those head-to-head battles that's really going to tie it up. I mean, you kind of need to be drawing for a couple draws almost in the upcoming weeks. If you look at like a game, even like what's called Edinburgh versus Zebre, Lions Cardiff, that's going to be massive for you. I'm actually looking. There aren't that next week, at least. There aren't that many that's in that top 8 battle next week.
The last 2 weeks are very.
Yeah,
but the thing is, but if you look, for example, if you look at the top 8, some of the guys who are in the top 8 have some big clashes. So for example, Bulls versus Glasgow, for example, it's not a massive game, but Edinburgh. No, I'm looking at Sharks Benton, for example. In theory, you look at the log position and think it's a pretty straightforward game. If the Sharks are out of the Challenge Cup, for example, then they could play a first team there. Yeah. It's tough for the Benton to come down and get a result there. Munster looking for top spot. They got Connacht. And then Leinster Ospreys. So a lot of for example, you could be seeing Benton, Connacht, Ospreys all dropping points there. And Lions beating Cardiff suddenly puts them back in amongst the pigeons. Yeah.
Big one. Also, final weekend is going to be Benetton, Edinburgh. Almost certainly going to be kind of a winner-takes-all type of endeavour. And not to mention kind of the Munster-Ulster one, which will be Munster looking to get kind of probably a home semi versus Ulster looking to qualify. So we love a bit of jeopardy here on the show, Stevie. We do love a bit of jeopardy. And this is
I think that's going to be what's so exciting is that these last 3 weeks mean a lot to all 8 teams.
Yeah.
The top 4 is not done. First is not done. 7 to 8. There are 11 teams out of 16 who are fighting tooth and nail for every last point.
Yeah.
Previously, I think the top 8's been relatively sorted, maybe 8 or 9. And then we're kind of just seeing what's going on between the sort of the top 2.
Agreed. And to be fair to like the Scarlets and Dragons, they're still putting up fights. It's not like they've just packed in the season.
They're not walkovers, yeah.
Sharks still need to stay on top. They want to obviously win the Challenge Cup, knowing that qualification for the USC is out of the picture. But, to keep that winning momentum is crucial for them. So that's, I think, a good segue, to be fair, to what is happening this weekend. The Stoop is becoming the Stoop in London as Sharks are technically hosting Clermont in the semi-finals of the Challenge Cup as Gloucester host Benetton. Gloucester not having the best year in the Premiership, so we've done well really to get to this stage. How are you seeing these games going, Stevie?
Well, I think it's a lot of teams who, as you mentioned, there's not a lot for them league-wise. So it's such a big opportunity for them to get something out of the season. This is their last, Sharks. They can win all 3 games in a row with bonus points when it comes to the URC, and they still will not touch 8th. They'll still be 4 points behind. So there's nothing for them left in the URC. Yeah. But there's a Champions Cup spot at the end of that Challenge Cup. You look at a Benson, for example, they're fighting and this potentially could not make the top 8. They might be outside the Champions Cup next season, but there's a Challenge Cup in 2 victories time. So for me, that I think is what's so exciting about the Challenge Cup games is that there's so much to play for. I mean, obviously your Champions Cup, all these teams, Toulouse, Leinster, Northampton, all looking to try and win their local leagues. Yeah. But the Champions Cup is the coveted cup. The Challenge Cup, some people might not rate, but for all the teams currently in it, it's such a big deal for them.
Absolutely. I mean, the highest position is Benetton out of those 4 left, and they're in 8th. Sharks in 13th, obviously out of kind of 16. And then Gloucester 9th out of 10, and Clermont are 10th in the top 14. So, kind of this is for a lot of them, other than Benetton, the rest of them don't have actually that much to play for. This is it. So it'll be interesting to see how Benetton manage that. They do have a decent squad, at least, but I'm really excited for the Sharks. I think, I don't know, do you agree that most South African fans are supporting the Sharks? Should we? I'm so conflicted. I've never.
Yeah, I know.
Because I've never.
You know what my problem is?
Bulls to win Super Rugby. But now I feel some sort of affinity. I don't know. I think
I think if it was any other South African side, you know what my biggest problem is that the Sharks team does not deserve the Challenge Cup if they do it. And I think that's going to really piss me off. If I'm a Lions fan and you look at the season we have, and for example, we finished 9th in the URC, or flipping God forbid, we finish 8th, they win the Challenge Cup, which means they take the 8th position of the URC, for example. So then the Lions wouldn't make the Champions Cup, and they sit there going, "Oh, well, we're in the Champions Cup and we got a trophy." And I'm like, "But you were so poor the entire season. Now you're going to walk away with silverware. Like, how dare you?" It's a bit like if United burgle an FA Cup, you know. It's just like, it's like, no, you can't just do that.
Yeah, but I mean, to be fair, if they do win it, I think we can call Sia Masuku straight up to the Springbok camp and secure his spot in the number 10 jersey for the 2027.
Look, you can basically retire Andre Pollard because Mr. Clutch has already stepped in, and you can just tell Pollard to enjoy his retirement, go sip some cocktails. You've given us everything you needed to give us. We're sorted.
That redemption arc has been insane, and we've been waiting for it. We've been calling for it, and I mean, to be fair, Sharks are showing signs of what they could be, and next season there could be trouble.
I think the emergence of Vincent Koch is going a little bit under the radar in terms of similar time to Masuku. All of a sudden, the scrum sorted itself out with Bongi, Ox, Vincent Koch, and then you've got an attacking fly-off playing behind a working set piece. And a dominant scrum. So the stars have aligned for the Sharks.
Well, for now.
I think to be fair, I think also the big reason at the moment that we feel South African teams we want them to win is because at the moment we're dealing with so much criticism about being involved in Europe. You know, there was never anybody, at least during Super Rugby, where there was, the Kiwis weren't sitting there saying, "Well, actually, it'd be quite cool if you guys weren't here." It was only in that last sort of COVID times where all of a sudden they were like, "We actually don't need you," and then we're like, "Okay, cheers," and they're like, "Oh shit, we actually need you." Whereas I think at the moment there is a lot of animosity from mainly the English fans. To be honest, the Irish fans love us. That's something I've picked up quite a lot.
And they tour incredibly well. You have to take a hat off to the Leinster and Munster fans. They come to
Munster fans. They're proper. I think you'd see more from Leinster if they send a better team. But that Munster travel support, there's a good support at Bulls, good support at Ellis Park. And I was reading a really nice comment on the channel, and it says, as a Munster fan, I'm loving the contact. How much we're enjoying having the South African teams in the URC. They said it's a cool types of teams to play. They said they've enjoyed traveling down here.
It's a challenge for them, to be fair.
Yeah, and to be fair, and they said and their fans are really like diehard. You know, yes, they're biased, but diehard love their rugby. I think that's a big thing. And look, we are. And I must admit, I fight with South African rugby fans, so I can only imagine how like some overseas people do. But you won't find a more passionate fan base than us.
Absolutely. We're highly irritable and highly biased, but I think that's just sports fans. I don't even think you can categorize that to South Africa. Talking of competitions that South Africans aren't in, so we don't even need to have this conversation, is the Champions Cup this weekend, Stevie.
In which case, we're all in behind Toulouse, eh?
I actually don't want to. I would love to.
Probably Harlequins, to be fair. I want to see Tyler Green man the match performance.
I kind of want the English teams to do well, as weird as that sounds. I think they are both underdog-ish teams who haven't had a lot of success in this competition, versus the typical Leinster Toulouse. To be honest, the Champions Cup, like currently, I feel like the Champions Cup, it's really fought between 3 or 4 teams. It's like these two, and then you can add La Rochelle and maybe another.
But I like how I mean, you add La Rochelle, not like anybody rated them any of the seasons where they won it. It was always like, so the Champions Cup. I mean, the Champions Cup at one stage was basically the competition between Leinster and Toulouse, and then La Rochelle just dipped in the end and said, actually, it's us. By the way.
Yeah, just because they decided to be a bit thuggish. But it's actually, I think this makes it more exciting. Like, I want Northampton and I want Harlequins to win this weekend. Do I think they will? No, because
I do want a cross league final. I think that is kind of like the whole thing when it comes to like a Champions Cup. It's like a Champions League final, you know. As cool as a Liverpool United Champions League final would be, there's something about the cross league part of it that just makes it that different sort of element.
But I think if you hope for 2 English wins, you might get 1. Or, you know.
Yes, this is true. The nice thing about, for example, is wanting a Harlequins win is there's plenty of Saffas in there. I mean, they're captained by Saffas. So cool to see the the representation there. Plus, Tyron Green's the next block fullback alongside Kieran Horn, so it'll be cool to see him grafting in the final there.
Anyone who's worn a Lions jersey, anyone who's worn a Lions jersey.
Well, man of the match in the quarterfinals. It's just we just produced talent.
I do love a bit of Tyron Green. But I'm really excited. I think Leinster. I mean, Leinster have literally kept a squad at home. They've just gone through a 2-week training camp. Essentially,
they even sent Jacques back early.
Back Jacques. they hired Jacques to be fair to win this bloody competition. So
to the point where they sent him back and said, "Listen, we'll stay. You go and just sort out the Champions Cup buggers."
Yeah, if I'd seen that before I made my last prediction, I probably would have got a little bit closer to it. Alas, so the Leinster.
Can we talk about how elite that is from a club setup point of view? That you can keep your head coach in South Africa with the youngsters and send over the World Cup winning coach to manage the rest. I mean, that is. For all that people might complain about the resources, the this, the that, I mean that is the definition of a high performance elite environment of how things should be and could be run. I mean that's just mental.
Yeah, and as much as they got blown out of the water a little bit, Leinster isn't a bad team. Their second team rather is not like.
Well, you guys almost had their third team. I mean, they made how many changes between the Lions team and then you guys. I mean, it's ridiculous how many changes they made.
I mean, they're going to be bullying like that. Just their first team's a joke. It really is just the Irish team, and now you're looking at adding Geordie Barrett and Alfie on there next season. So I feel like if there's a time, it's now, as if they are at all week. But then you just go to kind of Toulouse, who are just champagne rugby, DuPont pulling strings, and Tomac coming back. It's just
all the baggers.
Ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, Harlequins, the best thing, I think both Harlequins and Northampton, the best thing that they have going for them is that they've both kind of been written off by a lot of people.
So I think that's a big...
They're their best rugby.
Yeah, so look, I think the big thing with Harlequins is that they're so unpredictable, and they've been kind of unpredictable the entire tournament, where they've kind of been sort of written off slightly, almost every single game, and they're always sort of seeming to pull out the miracle victories. And I think because they've got so many Mavericks in their team, they can't be underestimated. So who knows what Harlequin side is going to rock up on the day.
It does feel like that might be the most broken up rugby game we will ever watch, though, between Toulouse and Harlequin. Both just love chaos. It's going to be a fun watch. Whereas you feel like the Northampton Leinster is going to be a lot of brute force, like really just big, kind of two massive teams flexing their muscles at one another. But very, very exciting. Crunch end of the season. All to play for. Obviously, no URC this weekend. We get a bit of a breather from that point of view, but four really big European and South African games. Stevie, moving on to the football, as we saw the boys from Merseyside bow out of the title race once and for all, as if it wasn't any done, and slide into the top four race just to make things interesting, just
talk about nail in the coffin stuff, eh?
Yeah, I mean, humiliating to say the least, this title charge. I mean, the last month is literally, I can't remember a happy moment amongst it all. Liverpool drawing 2-2 to West Ham away. Other big results, obviously Sheffield being relegated after losing 5-1 to Newcastle. Everton with a massive 1-0 win against Brentford. Looks like they're pulling away out of the title race. United, you boys just still, I mean, you were chatting about a little, maybe they charge for a top four race, but I mean, these draws just are killing you. The 1-1 versus Burnley,
yeah, especially the classic 88-minute penalty kind of vibe. And we're so used to it. Just every single thing, it's going well, then a penalty at the end, and we concede that many points. Story of the season. We're all in the FA Cup. Play the youngsters. I don't care. Just wheel out some half decent players for the FA Cup, just so we put in a half decent performance, and we move on to next season.
Of course. Other big ones with Chelsea 2-2 draw versus Villa. Villa dropping some valuable points there, which they would have expected to win. Nottingham Forest going down 2-0 versus Man City, and they had their chances. To be fair, they had their chances. Chris Wood, if he was switched on this weekend. It could have really caused an upset in this title race, and they need the points to Forest to kind of really make sure that they evade that relegation battle. And obviously the game of the weekend, as we mentioned, Spurs 2 at home, Arsenal 3. So Arsenal just getting the job done. We mentioned that was shaky though, Stevie. That was really looked like.
Yeah.
I think if had they not gotten all 3 points there, psychologically to come back from that would have been really, really tough. And never mind, you don't know if City's going to drop points at all. You expect them not to, and then you to have a 3-goal lead and almost drop points again would have been just a horror show.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, City can drop. Well, I mean, I think when I was watching that Arsenal game, it kind of, especially when they started imploding, it was kind of a bit like watching the Liverpool kind of, where you just start to see the cracks show, and then, I mean, you guys will put with some big results with some below par teams, and you kind of thought, well, there was always going to be a bit of a limit to how much you could.
For a lot of the season, it did feel like, to be fair.
And then kind of catches up. And this is kind of what we've been saying about Arsenal. I mean, we've been doing this podcast, we're episode 15 now. And I don't think at one stage have we ever given Arsenal the benefit of the doubt to say that they're genuine title contenders, because we just thought that there's just always going to be that result in them that's going to be the difference, and it has to. And when I saw them,
they've been more and more convincing in making sure that.
And ironically, they got to the point where we were almost convinced they were in the title race, and then they dropped the points.
Yeah, I remember we've been writing them off, but they are showing signs of champions, which is winning games when you probably should have dropped points. This weekend, I think they should have dropped points. I mean, Spurs were up for it in those last 25 minutes. I mean, stupid mistake from Raya out of the back, literally just a lapse in judgment, tries to chip one over the top under no real pressure. Easy put away from Romero, of all people, who are up there. And then, the second goal comes, one brings two, and it looked hella close from there. But I mean, as it stands, Man City are 1 point below Arsenal, but with a game in hand. So Arsenal's three games to play. Most they can end on is 89, and the most City can end on is 91. I always used to think that 90 points guarantees you a league. I've since learned, and as being a Liverpool fan, that it does not. In fact, 95 points doesn't even guarantee you a league. And you kind of learn that the hard way. But then you also go down to that the race for top four, Villa 67, Spurs 60, but Spurs have 2 games in hand. So if they were to win those two, it'll take them to 66, still below. So you'd expect Villa to kind of get it done from here.
I think dropping those points this weekend could be costly, maybe. But Spurs would have had to have come back and drawn against Arsenal. If they had done that, then you kind of feel that Spurs coming back from about being 2-0, 3-0 down to scoring, Villa dropping points. You kind of feel that Spurs might have a bit of momentum moving forward. But Spurs have got tough results. They've got, tough fixtures. They've got
Liverpool and City. Between two simple ones in Burnley and Sheffield, who or probably when they play, Sheffield are really relegated. Burnley might be at that stage. So it's kind of two opposite ends of the spectrum for them, and a game versus a Chelsea that you just have no idea what's going to happen with them week in, week out. So you prefer to be where Villa is.
Correct.
But Stevie, tonight, the champions, the anthem.
Dude, it's going to be a while since I'm going to hear it again. So let's not go there.
Only positive I can take away from this season at this point. I'm actually more proud of top 4 than I am of the Carabao that the under 23s won. But Bayern München hosting Real Madrid tonight in a massive. I mean, it doesn't get any bigger from
football heritage,
European football heritage, European royalty. That is on at the moment, and we are purposely not looking at the score because we're going to make a prediction later, and straight after the prediction, we're going to have to check the score. But we're fostering what we think is going to happen there, and then tomorrow night, Dortmund PSG. It's hard really to separate. I mean, obviously, it feels like it's the stronger side, Bayern, Real Madrid.
Yeah, definitely a stronger draw.
Yeah, and that's happened in the last couple of seasons, to be fair. Of the Champions League.
The finals often been in the semis, in inverted commas.
But I mean, I don't know how you split split hairs and really make a prediction. I think being home in the second leg, I do think is massive.
I still miss the away goal.
It spiced it up. It did spice it up. I like penalties. Just it seems wrong. At the end of the day, it just seems. Has anyone been happy that it's gone to a penalty? Not really. Like no one wanted to win that way, anyways. Bring back golden goal is what I say. Bring it back.
4 hours later, can someone just score a goal
after 120? Golden goal.
Golden goal.
It will be then you have unlimited subs, and you can bring on whoever you want. Allow them to have 2 keepers for Actually, no, don't do that because they're not going to.
No. Let's not do that thing where every 5 minutes you lose a player.
Yes, there we go. Now we're thinking.
Five-a-side fields, five-a-side going there. 150 minutes, you've got Jude Bellingham crawling around.
Yeah, Jude Bellingham versus Harry Kane, bro. That's what I want.
Yeah, 1-on-1, dude. 1-on-1.
The incumbent England star versus the current England star.
It definitely wouldn't be Jude Bellingham. It'll be Rudiger, and all you just 2-foot challenges Harry Kane and then runs away.
Stevie, why are we not employed in positions of power? Because tell you what, that is a
we could revolutionize everything. On the show, we've revolutionized. I'm pretty sure we did a Champions Cup type suggestions. We've revolutionized the Champions League. I tell you, we could just.
Champions League's coming up with a new format from next season, which looks horror.
So we'll have to go and fix that. We even decided what should and shouldn't be in the Olympics. Basically, we should be heading up
sports incorporated
worldwide. Yeah, I don't know. Is there a sports? Does the UN have a sports branch that we can just go and be in charge of?
We'll go look on LinkedIn for some jobs later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, massive Champions League nights, absolutely massive tonight and tomorrow. Can't wait to go and flick over to those straight after this. But Stevie,
should we get into that start of the show? We review the last 50 games of the last match week for the IPL.
Absolutely. Let's get into it. And a change up top. No, it's not a change. It's still Rugby Royals up top, and it's still RCB at the bottom. So is there anything else to speak about?
But I tell you who's making a bit of a charge is Delhi Capitals, who I thought were pretty dead and buried. Tied fourth.
My boys. Stubbsy, bro.
Oh, now they're back to your boys. You were very quick to be like, all right, boys, Sunrise are looking good. I might have to make the change.
I mean, I never said I'd make the change. I just said I feel that affinity because of the South African Brewers. But now that Markram and Klaasen aren't scoring very many runs, I'm now back on Stubbs.
Stubbs FC, dude. Stubbs FC. Come join the clan. It's cult, actually.
Yeah, it is a bit. And for good reason, because he has been playing he's having just a very, very decent tournament. I mean, I saw his 2 knocks versus Mumbai Indians, who released him at the end of last year, I think totaled up to, over 120 runs with both not outs. I mean, you've got a thorn in your side.
Proper middle finger to Boucher.
Yeah. No, massive one.
Meanwhile, I think Brevis played twice.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like one or the other.
He made 46 and then first ball duck, so it's a bit tough. And it's not even like MI are doing well. They're 3 wins from 9. So no, but you're right. I think it's been a massive turnaround for DC. If they make the playoffs, I think that's huge, because I think there was a point where they needed to win. I think it was 7 from their last 8, and they haven't lost since then.
I remember the interview that I think it was with Stubbs, and he was like, we're not playing well, but we feel like we've got the team. We just know we have to win every game from now on, and we'll make the playoffs. And he was like, yeah. And he's like, oh, hey.
Yeah. I mean, there's still, it does feel a little bit like baseball at this stage. I mean, people.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm enjoying what I'm watching.
262 chaseable and 80.
Yeah, no, it was. I saw that. I remember being at the pub and just looking at that and being like, no, this is things have gotten out of hand.
It's almost like Baker's cricket, just minus some runs for some wickets. Why don't you? Just the scores have been ridiculous. DC 257, and all that almost being chased down. Mumbai only 10 runs short of that. KKR setting 261 for 6. You'd think you'd be in the clear. No. Punjab Kings chasing that, only 2 wickets down in 18.5 overs.
Johnny Bester, welcome to the IPL.
Chasing down 199 with an over to spare. RCB chasing down 206 with 24 balls left. I mean, what? Like, it's just
they're actually they're 2 wins on the trot all of a sudden. That's a bit late for them.
Yeah,
because they're sitting at 6 points.
But it's not quite, but I mean, I guess compared to other form.
Well, I think they had won in their first 8. So
yeah, no. And then a exciting debut for our boy Lazard. Love to see.
Wicket. He has an IPL wicket.
I mean, tough start, conceding 23 off his first over and then dropping full salt of the very next ball of the second over. But good comeback, ending with figures of 1 for 38 or 3 overs. I mean, listen, it's expensive, but take away that first over, it's not the worst, and good comeback. He had a really, really good SA20, so I'm glad he's been rewarded with that. I hope he plays a little bit more. My boy's in the Capitals, bro. He's contributing to the momentum. But Stevie, the big talk, 10 a.m. South African time this morning. Squad announcements for the World Cup, the T20 World Cup. Walk us through it.
So yeah, look, I mean, it's a good squad actually, and we're doing that classic thing where all of a sudden we're going, oh, maybe, which is dangerous. That whole move, hope is dangerous. That is the proverb that South African cricket fans live by. But it is a great squad. There are maybe 1 or 2 question marks, but not. I don't think anyone's there that everyone's like, there's no justification for them, for example. So, obviously captained by Markram, big moment for him. His first senior tournament as captain, and the man who everybody sort of predicted years ago when he won the Under-19 World Cup, but this was going to be the man to lead us to glory. Well, this is his debut opportunity. And for me, the big one was
he's had a pretty horrible IPL, and it will be interesting if he wasn't captain. I think there'll be a lot of contention around his spot in the team because he had a decent SA20 season, but.
He's not captain of the Sunrisers, so I'm surprised he has been left in there. So
I mean, there's no one. I think notable mentions is no Temba. Obviously, I don't think that's too surprising.
I actually want to chat to that because I think I've been quite annoyed today by the coverage because a lot of people have focused on the no Temba, and I was thinking if you've been paying attention and as a cricket for a while, he's not been in the T20 setup.
No,
basically since Rob Walter took over.
It's not breaking news, and he's been injured for the longest time. Tests,
and then he had a terrible T20 challenge.
He played a minor role in the SA20. Hasn't really made runs, as you said in the T20 challenge. So it's not breaking news, but he was our captain at the last tournament, which wasn't too long ago. So it is notable. I don't think there are very many disagreements there, though. I don't think T20 is definitely his worst format.
I think it's the best thing for him, to be honest. I mean, he's one of our best ODI players ever statistically. If you looked at some of his numbers and stuff like that, one of the fastest to 2,000 ODI runs, and he's our red ball captain. And ironically, we don't play a lot of test matches in the next 2 to 3 years, but we play a lot of those very few test matches this year. So we do have a very busy test schedule. So, Temba, take a break.
It's literally where we need him. We are desperate for his experience at test level.
So I would actually take him as a non-traveling reserve just to give him a holiday in the Caribbean.
I mean,
Temba, we're gonna train. You just go over there and just sit on the beach, dude. I don't need you to give me third hours. Go sit on the beach and plot how you're gonna take us to the World Test Championship.
Yeah, and speaking of traveling reserves, Lungingidi, not in the full squad, but called as a traveling reserve. I think this is a big one for me, Stevie, because Nokia in and Lungi out is essentially the biggest talking point because these are both players that were, we're used to seeing, or at least for the last 5 years within the Springboks setup. Lungi really was a star, one of our best bowlers, if not our best bowler at the last T20 World Cup. And really looked like that was possibly even his best format. Obviously, coming back from injury.
It's interesting because you know, like the last T20 World Cup in Australia, and Lungi and Nokia were our top two seamers. Since then, Gerald Coetzee has the 50 over World Cup he's had, which is a different format, yes, but he's suddenly become this become this like game breaker type player. And all of a sudden, people are questioning that Nokia is there.
I do think Nokia and Kutsia bring something quite similar, which is pace and wickets, but expensive, right?
Yeah. Well, I think I'm almost. Yeah, I mean, Nandre Berger for me, I think would have been an interesting pick in terms of, because he's also in terms of also opening bowler. Look, I think that's the one thing I suppose about a Gerald doesn't open. Nokia will open, but can bowl at the death if he's bowling well. Nandre far more sort of a strike bowler up top, but left arm, but proper pace. We're talking 150, 152, 3 left arm. We've never really had that actually. He's probably, I think he might be must be one of our first ever bowlers, left arm bowlers to hit 150. Because I don't think Parnell ever got there.
Lonwabo Tsotsobe definitely didn't get there.
No. But
no, I think you have to be right. And essentially, he's been picked over Marco Jansen because picked beneath Marco Jansen because he's usually in that role that opens the bowling. But Jansen, as we know, good ball striker.
Are we going to talk about the fact that they dusted my boy?
Who? Vian. No, let's not start this conversation. No.
We have to start this conversation. In fact, this has actually been, there have been 2 players that everybody's spoken about in that aren't in the squad. The big one that a lot of people are talking about is Briedska, and the other big one, although I think got plenty of batting, the other one is that there's no all-rounder in that squad apart from Marco Jansen.
Yeah, I think I don't think all-rounders are as important in T20. I think you'd rather pick specialists in T20.
I don't know. I mean, IPL teams are made for all-rounders, hey? I mean, that's why like Shamsi's never gotten a contract. Look, he's also a spinner, but like even if you're a spinner, something like that, you have to be able to bat these days and in the IPL.
But how you need to bat to 7, maybe 8 in the IPL. In T20
that's
cricket.
where but that's what I'm saying. For me, he would be he's
Mulder isn't going to contribute overs. Let's be honest. In a Protea jersey, he's not. He's not going to contribute overs. Like and if he is, you're protecting him. I just don't see how he makes his way in. I could maybe understand it if Marco Jansen gets injured. You can bring it if you're really desperate to have.
But he's a non-traveling reserve, so it's not like he's For me, I would have had. I don't think I would have had Bjorn Fontaine. Is my maybe controversial pick. I would have had Liam Mulder ahead of him and had a genuine second all-rounder in that side.
I'm fine with how it is. Rather Bjorn Fontaine, spinning all-rounder, batting all-rounder, Marco Jansen.
But the question is, would we pick Bjorn Fontaine as a frontline spinner, or would we look and go, well, we could actually throw in another batsman there and get away with having a Markham and a Tristan Stubbs bowling?
Well, I think we could. We have Keshav, so
that's what I'm saying. So would you play? Look, I don't think Bjorn Fontaine makes our best 11. I don't think Vian Mulder would make our best 11 but I'm surprised they haven't gone with a genuine option other than Marco Jansen, who, by the way, has played about 2 games in the IPL so far.
Yeah. And to be honest, is actually going through a bit of a tough spell. Hasn't had the best year. Ended his World Cup really badly. Kind of just getting
had a good SA20 with the bat. Kind of showed people that he can bat. He's ironically, his batting's coming like leaps and bounds, and his bowling's not fallen off, but he's definitely now considered more an all-rounder with a bit of contribution because he's been batting a lot better, but I also don't think bowling as well.
Yeah, I think he's just become very expensive in the bowling department, and I think there was that semi-final was a tough one for him at the World Cup, and I just remember how expensive he kind of was, and he's still very young. We must remember he's in his early 20s still. So he's one that you want to take to these tournaments. He's going to
look at the end of the day. Marco Jansen and Vian Mulder are going to win World Cups together in the same team. Well, this is what we need to be grateful for.
I won't complain about that. But our boy Othniel Bartman, what a guy!
I like how not a single person, by the way, has questioned. Not a single person has gone, "Ooh, I'm surprised." Like no one's worried about the lack of IPL for him. Everyone's just like, "There it is." Rob's making the big calls.
He's the best swing bowler in South Africa.
Best death bowler, like in the SA20. I mean, with no Magala, for example, who's dropped off the radar. Yeah. If there's one person who I look at and think we've got a death bowler, the way he's bowled.
He's going to be what we want to be, bro. He's literally like that. Oh, man, I could watch him bowl every day of the week. He's quality. No, I mean, we spoke about left arm fast. We haven't even mentioned Quinn Mapaka. Obviously, very new. He wasn't going to necessarily walk into this team, but not included in either of the teams. But the youngster, Kaiwa Peter.
The one thing is that I think if you look at the size of that T20I provisional squad, I think there is a few spaces, and I think that players in the IPL who aren't in the playoffs might join up. I don't think we'll see Quena. He does actually have to go to school at some point.
Fastman trick. Joke.
Yeah. Not that he needs it, but
yeah, I think he'll be just fine, just based off what he earned this year in the IPL.
Yeah, and we know he's going to get a decent SA20 contract next year. Interesting looking at the management, by the way. So for those of you who don't know, the management is Rob Walters, the head coach. The team manager, for your knowledge, is Kimoto Masabulele. But keeping with the coaches, JP Dumini as batting coach, Eric Simons as bowling coach, Wandila Guavu fielding coach, Matthew Rubens performance analyst. I actually knew him quite well. But for me, an interesting one, he makes a return. Thomas Dawson Squibb, the UCT head coach, is going as a performance coach.
Rugby head coach, we should mention.
Rugby head coach, and worked with the Stormers and Western Province, is going, but he's very much, so when it says performance coach, very much mental coach, not really what they call them these days, but that's very much what he is kind of there with. He's sort of there to work with.
He went to the
World Cup.
He went to the World Cup, so he's been in the environment. He knows the guys.
Yeah. But interesting to see that he's back. I really think that's going to be something that's going to become incredibly important in the future sport. Is I think those sort of, again, they don't like to be called mental coach or psychologist or whatever.
Argue he has the most important position in this Proteas coaching setup.
Yeah,
correct. What is the one thing that has held the Proteas back from winning World Cup? Mentality.
No, exactly.
Literally mentality.
And we're partly to blame as fans. They've had the chokers tag. Nobody's ever backed them and stuff like that through years and years of maybe justifiable underperformance.
But it's the C word. It's the C word.
It's the C word, yeah, literally. But it's a genuine problem. And I mean, these poor guys, I mean, you look at the squad and there's so many guys. I mean, you're going to sit there and call Quinton de Kock the C word after, the tournament he put in last year. Some of these guys have put in some mega World Cup performances over the years, have not been able to get us over the line. And I think it's always been it's amazing if maybe, had Herschel hold on to that catch, for example. You look at those moments. Had we won one, would we have gone on to win 2 or 3? Is it genuinely the mental thing that is holding us back? But I think at least it's something that's been recognized.
I think when you look at how much Australia has won, you have to see how much they just are given the full rights and reserves to go out there and just play. Be arrogant. It's an individual team sport. Travis Head, go and play in a 130,000 seater stadium filled with Indian fans and silence them. Do your thing. Like, they embody that. They don't feel pressure because they don't have the pressure of other things. They have pressure because they're expected to win, but they have also been told that they will win. And because they know how to win. And previously, every single Australian team has had World Cup winners in it. And it's just a beautiful cycle. And when it's not working in your favor, like the Proteas has it's a vicious cycle. It's a vicious cycle.
It's pretty straightforward, isn't it? I mean, losing habits, winning's a habit. So, we've got to break the habit. Now, the question is, if this team doesn't do it, there are some stars in the squad against West Indies, which might do it in the future. We've just got to have a very quick talk about the generational potential talent that is Nkaba Peter, who is a 21-year-old leg spinner who was one of the top wicket. I think he actually might have finished as the top wicket taker in the T20 Challenge.
He finished tied fourth, 17 wickets in 9 matches at an economy of 6.14. I mean, obviously the T20 Challenge is a lower run rate than the IPL, but that's impressive.
But I think worth noting, so he's tied fourth, having played 9 games, where he tied with Vizawes, Cele, Smetu, and Swanepoel played 14, 15, and 12 matches, finishing with 21, 21, and 18. Listen, I watched this kid for the first time in person on Sunday, and I am fully on the hype train. fully on the hype train. Not even just the skill, the mentality. I watched of a 21-year-old in a final first. I mean, he's basically playing his debut professional season.
Yeah.
Get hit for 6 first up and just walk straight to his mark and said, literally said, "Give me the ball quickly. I want to go. I'm ready to go. I've got this." 4 balls later, balls on the skids on Kaya Zondo's back in the hut, and you sit there going, "Yeah, listen, this kid could be something special."
And I think what's actually the biggest takeaway for me is that I think you could easily mistake this SA20 for being a forgotten tournament and something that doesn't get recognized.
The T20 challenge.
Now, the T20 challenge.
Yeah.
You've seen now Cabo Peter. All of a sudden, Rassie van der Dussen is in the squad. He had a really good tournament, ending up with bagging a bunch of runs there. So it just goes to show that these tournaments matter. He might have missed out on the SA20. He might have been gutted at that, but now he knows he's going to get a contract next season. It's just a cycle of being seen in these domestic tournaments and being able to just perform where you can and being rewarded for that. Same with Patrick Kruger, decent SA20 again, and just having a decent season, and now given the opportunity again to go to West Indies. So it's good. Same for Ryan Rickleton. I mean, he's had an unbelievable season.
Yeah, Vian Mulder.
Vian Mulder being selected. So it's good to know that these players are also just getting validation for the cricket that they are playing. It's not just if you don't go to the IPL, there's nothing here for you.
Yeah, the T20 challenge isn't just a contractual obligation. It is a genuine platform.
Yeah, because Brevis might be at the IPL, but he's not in either of the squads. So it's not complete validation. And, Brevis is kind of like, well, maybe if I was not that he's going to ever pick that, but maybe if I was at home scoring runs, I might have been picked. So wherever I am, I need to continue scoring runs, even if it's at a lesser level, being the T20 challenge.
Yeah, no, I think, and I've enjoyed the T20 challenge. It's actually been some really watchable games. To be honest, I've been trying to watch as much as possible, and then was at the final on Sunday, which was I would like to have been a bit more high scoring, but bit of a masterclass really from the Lions.
Yeah, going on and beating the Dolphins there by 7 wickets, 14 balls remaining, kind of at a trot. Your boy Vian Mulder, a little unbeaten 55. Reza Hendricks 73 of 52. Rickleton 18 of 13, but. Yeah, I mean the Lions. They feel like they have kind of a bit of a monopoly on all the South African silverware at the moment.
2 out of 3.
Yeah. But Stevie, I believe you have written a predicted or your ideal starting 11 for the World Cup prior to starting. Will you please take us through that? I haven't seen this, I'm just going to see what I do and don't agree with.
So for me, there's only one spot that's up for debate, and that is the one seamer. But up front, I don't know if it's my ideal squad or just what I think we're going to go with. Probably pretty close to my one, to be fair. But my predicted 11 is up front: Quinton de Kock and Reza Hendricks. Their flight combination. I think Reza's been backed, and Reza's been so good in international. They're going to continue to back him. I think Markin comes in at 3. I think that what we're seeing now, I think Tristan Stubbs will find himself at 4. I think we're then going to go Heinrich Klaas and Dave Miller as the 2 up towards the middle overs and back end. All-rounder Marco Jansen at 7, Keshav Maharaj at 8, and depending on the lineup, probably a KG Abada at 9. This is the big contentious one. Is it a Barkman, a Norkia, a Gerald, and then Shamo at 11?
So after Janssen at 7, we've got Kesh.
Yeah.
Seamers, Rabada,
and add who you'd like to add.
Okay, so it's one of Kutsia, Bartman, or Gerald.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. We got to choose first names or surnames here.
No, I like that. I think the one that could change is maybe Reza and Rickleton. I mean, they're opening pair at the Lions, and I feel like they've both been good enough. I think, to be fair to Reza, it's about time that he's been given a bit of an opportunity to hold that opening position, because he's batted so well for the Proteas over the years and still not kind of given enough opportunity. But you just look at the form that Rickleton is in. I think he's got a kind of killer mentality to him. He just goes out swinging, where we've seen sometimes Reza get a little bit caught up, pair some kind of slower innings where it's on his day there's no one who hits the ball more sweetly. But the other days he almost struggles to get the ball going, and then he also struggles to get out. So he hangs around for a little bit. But I think he's earned his spot to begin with for sure.
The thing is, I don't think we're ever going to see a Quinton de Kock and a Rickleton. I think they're very similar batsmen, not just because they're left-handed, but very similar in their approach, very similar arcs, for example.
Yeah.
I mean, lots of people, you watch a Ryan Rickleton and you bats very similarly to Quinton de Kock. So I don't think there's a lot of variation.
No, I agree
with those.
I think Stubbs. I love Stubbs. The idea of him at 4, you could probably put Klaasen at 4, but leaving him.
I think Klaasen, Miller, and Stubbs for me are completely interchangeable. To be perfectly honest, I think that Stubbs. The reason I wanted Stubbs at 4 is I think that he's got the ability to play either role. I think if he needs to go from ball 1, he's shown he can. But I think he's also shown he's got the ability to soak up a bit of pressure if he needs to. I also think he'll enjoy the responsibility of 4, whilst knowing he's got a Klaasen and a Miller to come.
I agree. I think when Stubbs is at his worst, it's when he's rushed. When he's given 5 balls, I think he's one of the best batsmen ever because he builds the most unbelievable innings. It sometimes takes a little bit slower, whereas I have a lot of faith in Klaasen and Miller with their experience. They can go from ball 1, come in at the 15th over and just blast the team away, total. Whereas I would rather have pressure on Stubbs earlier in the innings because he can and he does go early, but I'd rather him have, as you said, the protection of those bigger players. But as you said, I agree. I think completely situational on the game. You can move those 3 as you please.
Yeah, look, you're 2 down, for example, or you're 1 down, and there's a wicket in the 13th over. Send flipping Klaasen in. Klaasen needs to be in with 7 to 8 overs. He's our most destructive batsman. Yes, he's maybe dropped off a little bit lately in IPL compared to a start, but he's our most destructive batsman. I mean, he is arguably the best T20 batsman in the world, alongside the likes of Travis Head at the moment, with the kind of form he's in. So he needs to see a lot of deliveries.
Those middle to later overs.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Very specifically in that role.
When he's given 8 overs, it can get ugly because if you let him face 30 balls, they're going for runs. I'm a little bit worried with the lack of game time for Marco Jansen coming in, especially because he's not going to have the opportunity to play in West Indies beforehand. So I hope that he maybe gets an opportunity at SRH before then. But I think
and I think the problem is, I suppose, is
one all-rounder, I feel, as much as
I think we do as well. Because I think if we go with an extra bowler and you play a Gerald and a Nokia or a Gerald and a Bartman, Kesh coming at 6 does not sit with me well. 7. Sorry, 7. Still, it doesn't. It's if there is a shuffle, you're in trouble.
Yeah, and as much as Kesh kind of always has a go at it, he hasn't got a massive track record of scoring anything more than 20 runs, So, and you wouldn't want to depend on him to kind of do that. And after that, you're kind of just relying on one batsman holding an end, never how you kind of want to finish. So, and with how, as we mentioned, Marco's batting has improved, that is going to be huge. So even if Marco is just bowling 2 overs, other one with Markram perhaps, you making up the overs. So I think it balances up well. As you said, I'd love to see O'Neill. What a beast! Like just in the death overs, I think there's something to be said about someone who just goes in and not carrying the weight of any other tournament. Think of Stubbs, think of O'Neill, even Andre Berger if he manages to get the nod in. And if Lungi comes in, I think that's great. I'd rather, to be honest, one change I think I'd make to the whole squad is Lungi instead of Nokia, just because I think Lungi brings something a little different. Very good slow ball. If you can just get his pace up, I think that's when his slow ball.
That's the big thing. When he's bowling 146, 147 in that slow ball, which he disguises so well, is so much more effective. The one thing I will say about Unrik is that he has stepped up whenever we've needed him. That's the one thing. Since he's pulled that jersey on, he was relatively unknown, and he's just gone from like being this kid from the Warriors to being like this global superstar.
Right? No one has a bad word to say about Andre.
Yeah,
like he leaves it all on the line. He cares about South African cricket more than anyone else.
What did Charles Langerfeld describe him as? A proper Dutchman. He just runs in and bowls.
Snorkia, bro. I mean,
Snorkia.
he is the guy. He is the guy. So,
and the nice thing about him is that his pace is back. So when I was watching him the other day, he did get sent, but when I see him bowling at 151, at least you're sitting there going, well, he's running and he's bowling. There's nothing worse.
Are bowling on roads, though. We must look at the scores for the whole.
No, but just the fact that he's feeling okay with his body, so that he feels he can run in a bowl 151, 152. Now it's execution. The pace is there. The body must be feeling good. He's feeling confident enough to try and let it rip. Now he's just got to find that control and that accuracy again.
100%. It's exciting. Love World Cup time. Love to be excited and
ready to be hurtful again.
Options. It's not like we have good options there. To kind of in our reserves, batting maybe the thinner of the two injuries to that batting lineup, and you starting to look a little bit more thin. But bowling is looking really power at the moment.
Well, I think, IPL-wise, the bowlers have had a tough season, so we're keen to see how. Do you know what the nice thing about this is? I feel that, I think, looking at the squad, is that I feel it's a squad that complements the way the T20 game is going. We've got batsmen who are going to play aggressively. Reza Hendricks, I think that's probably, for me, the only person I think needs to just be told, because I think when he plays aggressively, he plays his best. His best knocks are often when he goes quite early. So I think we've got players who are going to play with the freedom, and I think that's what Rob wants them to do. Is he's basically, it's a bit like, it's a terrible example, but I'm playing at the T20 tournament on Sunday, and we've had 2 years we never reached the
playoffs. Tell us about it. What do you have in common?
The biggest thing is we've also never won it, so we know what it's like. But our biggest thing is nothing to lose, everything to gain. So let's not go out there and try and beat around the bush. We're going to go out there and just have a go and be aggressive. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I think the pro should be taking the exact same approach.
It is, though. I mean,
it is.
It is. It's literally it's a half time. It's won by a single individual having an unbelievable day. Maybe two.
And and the rhetoric's changed. 5 years ago, you talked about calculated risk in the T20s. Now it's like, no, you go out there and you score runs. You don't go out there and think, it's about picking your deliveries. No, the best T20 players are, it doesn't matter where you're going to bowl, I can put you to any part of the stadium.
We said last week, 20 runs of 6 balls is success in T20 cricket. That is still factual, even if you go out, because not everyone's going to do that, but you have put a lot of pressure on the opposition. Yeah. And that is a good score. 25.
That can be more valuable than 175.
Potentially. Yeah. But Stevie, let's get into the predictions for this week. We've covered all football, cricket, and rugby. We can start with Sharks versus Claremont. And I'm going to look to kind of continue my winning streak. Could make it 3 from 3. Have you really on the ropes? Takes a bit of momentum into May. We're going to predict at the same time as we continue. I'm quite liking this format, as you might assume.
Yeah. If you win another one, I might have to put another. I might have to jump into the point of order here.
No, well, let's see how the weekend goes first. So, have you got a number in mind?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll count us down, and we're going to go team by points for the rugby. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Sharks by
5.
Oh, we've done it again.
We've done it again. So who budges this time, man? I budged last time. 2.
You moved last time, so I'll move this time. I'll go 6. I'll go 6.
Coward.
Coward? No, that's not cowardly. I was thinking the babe one.
Anything higher than 5 is now a guaranteed dub. That's fine. Take it.
Get out of here. You could anything that Claremont wins is a guaranteed dub. Even in the deficit of 4 points or 5 points. Well, we'll see how that goes. Sharks at home at least. Well, in London.
But at the Stoop. And you're not even going.
I'm not even going. I know, I'll be on top of a mountain. Match 2, Liverpool versus Spurs. Liverpool, top 4 race? We don't know what Liverpool's going to turn up. Spurs have kind of been up and down. They kind of need it. It's hard to predict this type of game because both teams, Spurs obviously have a lot more to play for. Liverpool now kind of cemented their name on that number 3 spot. Stevie, we're going to go score and then team.
Yeah.
I'll count us in. Let's go 3, 2, 1. 2-1 Liverpool.
I was going to 2-0 Liverpool.
Okay. Yeah, well, you butchered that, by the way.
Yeah, I kept wondering if I was going to give Spurs a goal, and then I was like, no, don't do it. So yeah, I was 2-0 Spurs. I mean 2-0 Liverpool is where I'm going to go. I think it's so set up for it to be a non-result for Liverpool, a big result for Spurs, and both.
Yeah, sorry, I interrupted.
No, I just think Spurs. It was such a Spursy result for them just to drop points and not rock up after last week.
Yeah, well,
and I think Liverpool now that means nothing. They will probably rock up.
Yeah, if we might just keep our first clean sheet of the year, that would be exciting.
I suppose actually, I want it depends. Is Klopp and Salah speaking? Are they they got on drinks together? Are they on good terms? Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? The less I consume of Liverpool at the moment, the better.
Yeah.
Except this weekend, 2-1 win guaranteed. Tonight, Stevie, and we said the last prediction. Has it kicked off? It has. Well, it's
probably like half time by now.
Oh, it's 54 minutes since the kickoff. So we're going to put our predictions. Have you got a score in mind? Bayern versus Real Madrid.
Yeah, at Bayern, eh?
At Bayern.
At Bayern. Oh, but it's Madrid. Okay, I got one.
Okay. Score team. Okay, yeah. Don't butcher this. 3, 2, 1, 1-1.
2-1 Madrid. Yo, huge.
Yeah, I'm taking. Wait. Huge. Roll up. Oh, half time. 1-0 Madrid. Ooh. Vinny Jr., 24th minute. So both are still possible. Both are still possible.
Yeah, I want to see the statistics. I wonder what's operating.
Same possession, shots on target 2, or shots 8 from Bayern, 2 on target. We don't need to get into this. Everyone would have known the result at this point. But
yeah, true. Oh, I wanted to happen. Everyone's like, yeah, well, this is what happened, you idiots.
But yes, everyone, thank you very much for listening along. We really appreciate the support. Please please subscribe if you think others will enjoy it. The algorithm helps it.
If you think others will enjoy it, everybody will enjoy this, dude. Just throw it out there, and if they don't enjoy it, well, it's their time you're wasting, not yours.
Yes, well, quite. Stevie, thank you very much. Good luck for the weekend's fixtures. And
enjoy your mountain, dude.
Thank you. Yeah, if you see me next week, I would have survived. Yeah. If you don't, perhaps not. There'll be a new host on Between Two Fans, or it might just be Between a Fan.
Yeah, literally. Well, hopefully, go find a dragon up in the Welsh, man. See if you can find some money for those Welsh regions.
Yeah, I'll be trying. I might not some money, but definitely a bit muddy up there. Some rain expected. But Stevie, shock and horror. Stevie, thank you very much for the episode. We'll chat to you, everyone, next week.
Yeah, have a good one, Colty. Good luck.
Thank you.